Hello, my Zentangle friends. This is Barbara Langston, CZT, Certified Zentangle Teacher. And I'm grateful today for the Tangle Patterns website and the cool new pattern that I found there. And happy to be able to bring that to you. I tend to wait until I find something that I think is fairly easy to do, and this one is an easy pattern, and it's called Ant Flower, and it's by Damy Teng. I think I'm saying that right. And this was actually created by her niece, which is why she calls it Ant Flower. And it looks a little complicated, but actually it's not. I really had a lot of fun playing with it because I like something that is easy to make a mandala, and that pattern gives you sort of a mandala feel to it. And so let's get started. And we're actually going to start by making a border. And so I'm going to put my 4 corner dots. This paper that I'm using is it's 4 inches wide by about 4.5 inches tall because I put it into my disc binding system. I really like using that. So I cut some more tiles this morning. Okay, I didn't put the corner dots here, but I'm making a border. Anyway, I cut some more tiles this morning so that I could do this and have it ready to put into my disc system. And I do have a video out there that explains that. Okay, so I have made my border, and now I'm going to divide my tile. And in the step outs for this, she does not divide her tile, but I like to do it just so I kind of keep things straight. Oh, the other thing before we start, I'm going to use a Micron 01, my graphite pencil, my blending stump, and this time I'm actually going to put a little bit of color to my tile using some Prismacolor watercolor pencils and a water brush. And I can't tell you, this says Artesia. Okay, so this Arteza is the type brush on this. And I might end up using my kneaded eraser. Okay, so you can do this on a 3.5 inch tile. That'll be just fine, or larger. Okay, so I'm going to divide diagonally first, and I'm doing it very lightly, and then I'm going to go diagonally again. Okay, so I've divided it that way. Now I want, this gives me a really good idea where the center is when I do diagonally first. And now I'm going to put another line this way and another line going this way. Okay, so that has divided it for me to start my flower. Now I'm going to take my Micron, and again I'm using an 01, and I'm just going to put a small circle right there in the center. And then I'm going to start going around and just adding some petals. And I'm using these lines to help me keep my petals straight because I need help. And I'm trying to keep them about the same size, but if they're not, it's not going to matter. I did this tile recently as a meditation in the morning, and it was awesome because it's easy. And once you get the basic pattern down, you can just keep adding other patterns to it and kind of use this like a string. Okay, so I've added that first flower and it or group of petals, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 petals. And now I'm going to add just like a little, as if I was going to start a crescent moon, just a little curve, a backward C, whatever you want to call it, all the way around. Okay. And then the next thing that we're going to do is add our next set of petals. And we're going to use this as a guideline, that little arch that we put. And now we're going to come up and add another petal. And I rarely get mine all the same. But again, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for some way to create our art in an easy, meditative way. At least that's my goal. Okay. So now we have 8 petals there in that center. And we are going to add that same curve here. Okay, and then one more time, we're going to add some petals. And then this is the basic pattern for ant flower. So now we've done 1, 2, 3 sets of petals. Oh, one more here. And that is ant flower. But I'm going to keep going. And she does this also. If you look at the step out on Tangle Patterns, I'm going to go ahead and add our little curved line here again, all the way around. So once you see how this is built, it's so easy to just keep going with it. Okay, so now we're going to add another petal, and these are getting a little bit wider. And my pen didn't ink very well there. Okay. One more time. Go around with this. All right. And now I'm just going to add a little bit different ending on here. And this one. You could do whatever you wanted on the outside of this. I was just thinking henna drum would be pretty there because I like putting henna drum anywhere. Okay, so there we have that part. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add my watercolors. And I want to show you real quick. When I was going through my garage recently, I came across this color wheel. And it's a little bit dirty because, like I said, it was in my garage. But what I wanted to do was start with kind of a pink. So I found what's called the split complementary colors. So that would be the pink with a violet, and then that comes down here to a green. So that's why I picked those colors. And the way I'm going to use this is I'm just going to put a little bit of color down at the bottom of each of these petals here in the center. And again, you don't have to color these. I'm going to go to the next one and just put a little bit of color again at the bottom of each of these petals. And again, these are Prismacolor watercolor pencils. I'm going to try to do this kind of quickly and hopefully not messy, so that you can see how easy it is to use your watercolor pencils, which I tend to forget about them. My friend Loretta asked me about using watercolor pencils on the tiles, and so I thought, well, that would be a nice thing to add. Feel free to fast forward through this on to the next part. Okay, I'm going to go back to pink here. I like light colors. I don't like really bold colors on my tiles, although I do it sometimes. Okay, and then once again to purple. And if you watched my videos, you know that purple is one of my favorite colors. Okay, so now I'm going to get my watercolor brush, or just a water brush, sorry, and make sure that there is some water, not too much. So I'm going to keep my little towel handy. And I'm going to start in the center, and then I'm just going to pull that watercolor out into the rest of the petal. Oh, and before I forget, we probably should have erased those pencil lines, because once you put watercolor over your graphite pencil, then it's going to stay there. So I'm going to go ahead and just lightly erase the rest of those lines if they show up kind of dark. They may not show up very much on your tile, but again, once you put watercolor over your pencil, it will not come back up. You cannot erase it. Okay, so I'm going to clean my brush a little bit and do the next row. And if you leave some of that darker part toward the bottom, it's giving the appearance of shading. And of course, you're welcome to add as many colors as you would like on yours, or no color at all. And I'm trying to do this so it won't take too much time. Cleaned my brush a little bit on the towel. And again, I'm going a little bit fast, so it may not be perfect here. But you can go over this and wipe it with your towel, and then put a little bit down if you happen to get too much into the other side, and then bring it out again. And then you can always come back later also and add a little bit more highlight of color if you want it darker after we tangle on it. And again, I'm getting a little bit messy, but it's okay. I don't want you to have to watch. Whoops. See there? And you can wet this again and then bring your towel down there and it will pick it up a little bit. Okay. Cleaning my brush on the towel and going to the next color again. Whoa, too much color, too much water. It is Saturday afternoon here in the Houston, Texas area, and happy to say it's not raining this afternoon. Although we have needed the rain, I'm happy to have at least a partly sunny day today. And again, these are kind of light in color. That's how I like it. I'm a little bit sloppy here, but I want to get this going. This is why I like to do a whole tile with color before I even start tangling on it. But occasionally I do try something different. And my friend Loretta, again, was asking how to use watercolors with a water brush. So this is just a very quick example of how you can do this. And if you don't put too much water, this should dry pretty fast. And I made a little bit of a mess there, but it's going to be okay. Okay, so there's our color. And I am going to just dry it a little bit. I have this heat gun. Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to go back to my Micron 01. And we're just going to start adding some patterns here in the center. And in the very middle, I'm just going to put a line and a dot. Okay. And in this next section, I'm just going to put an aura inside, and then another aura inside of that. And then I'm going to fill that one in. So we're going to continue to do that on each one of these, filling in the very center one. Another thing that you can use on these are watercolor markers. For example, I have some of these. So sorry. These are Artist's Loft, and they have a brush tip and a fine tip. So that's an idea. If you don't have watercolor pencils, you could color that way. So again, we're just putting auras inside of each of these, and we have that part done now. Okay. And then on this next one, we're going to do what's called kissing Mooka. And Mooka just comes up around. You're going to make a circle. Before you close that circle, you're going to come back down and meet at the bottom. And kissing Mooka means that you're going to come up from the other side. You're just going to touch the bottom of that one like they're kissing. Come back around, make a circle, and come back down. And that is kissing Mooka. And we're going to put that in this next layer. So I'm going to start in the very center here. I'm going to come up. I'm going to touch those edges and make my circle. Come back around and come back down. And then I'm going to do that on this side. Come around, touch that edge almost. Make my other Mooka and come back down. See if I can zoom in on this for you for the next one. Okay, so I'm starting right there in the center. I'm going to come up towards the top, make my circle, come back up, bring it down. Then from that same point, I'm going to come around, make my circle again, and come back down. Okay, so we're going to continue to do that in each of these petals. All the way around. I struggled with Mooka when I first started doing it, but then when I started to relax and just realized that's just a little orb at the top, then I got to where I could do it better. So a curve, an orb, you don't close it, come back down, again come up, start to make an orb, don't close it, and come back down. Maria is the pro at using Mooka. I love watching her create her art. Okay, one more. Okay, so we're done with that. The next thing I'm going to do is Betweed. Okay, so this one was Mooka. And on this next layer, where our petals come up kind of like this, I'm going to start in this corner, and I'm just going to go from the corner and come up and make it a little bit wider at this end. Then I'm going to come to the other side and do the same thing. Come over, go back to the left, back to the right, from the left again, from the right, left and right, until you're pretty much out of room. Now, if you want to, you can add a little bit of weighting up here at the top. I tend to not do that, but that is how the basic pattern is with the little bit of weighting on it. Okay, so we're going to put that in this pink layer. Again, start from the corner and then just keep switching sides. I always start on the left. I remember Maria in one of her videos saying she always starts on the left. So that's what I do. Just back and forth with a line that kind of auras the one before it. And there you go. Move to the next one. Again, start on the left. Come up. And your line is a little bit fatter at the top. This is what's called an anchored aura because we are anchoring it in the corners. Come up from each side. Okay. Start on the left. And if you notice, I'm not moving this hand, okay, where my pen is. I am keeping it comfortable, and I'm moving my tile. Okay. Next one. I really like Betweed. That's one of my favorite patterns. You can actually use it in almost any shape. Well, actually, I don't think I've tried it in a circle, but you can put it as a filler in a lot of places. And one of the reasons I like to do the watercolor first is that it tends to kind of dull the micron, I guess is the best way to say that. And then I end up having to go back over my micron to make it show up, to redefine it. So if I already have the paint there, then there's no need to go back over it. Okay? And the colors look much better where I'm at. Okay, the last one that we're going to do is on the outside. We are going to add one of the fragments, and I don't have that fragment number here, but it's just very simple. We make like a rice kernel shape or seed shape, and then on each side of that we're going to add auras. Okay. So start with our little seed shape. Put an orb in the center and then nestle some other little orbs next to it. And then auras on each side. And then we're going to continue to do that all the way around. And I don't think my watercolor came out quite as nice as I was hoping it would, but hopefully you get the idea. And then just continue going around, making your little orbs. And I definitely went over the line with the watercolor there. If you have a white jelly roll pen, I'll show you how you can fix that on a white tile. This kind of pattern, like I said, is very calming and meditative for me. It's the kind of thing I like to do first thing in the morning. because it's easy to remember, and those kind of repetitive patterns are easy to do. And I don't have to keep looking at the step outs to figure it out. Okay, so back that out just a little bit. All right, so there we have that done. The last thing I want to do is go around all of this with an aura. If you have room, that's fine. If not, don't worry about it. Maria often says, when in doubt, aura. And I think she often adds an aura around her patterns. And I'm turning my tile to try to keep my pen so that I'm pointed toward the pattern that I'm adding the aura to. I hope that you are enjoying your summer. I still haven't left home much. I started to do more, now I'm getting more nervous about it. But okay, so I'm going to show you with trying to find a number 10 jelly roll. Okay, so with the jelly roll, first thing I'm going to do is make sure that it's working, and it is. In a couple of places where I had too much that went over, I can just put a little bit of jelly roll there. Not very thick, but it helps to cover that up just a little bit. Now, if it was a really dark color, it probably wouldn't work that well. But you can see it helps to straighten it out just a little bit. Okay. The other thing that I want to do is with my micron, I'm going to go in and trying to decide if I want to do this or not. What I did on my first one was that on each of these for the Mooka to add just a little bit of drama. I did an aura and filled it in just a little bit with the black. Okay, so just add a little bit of an aura and fill it in all the way around. You know, since we put the black here on this one, we're adding just that touch of drama there. And this is the kind of thing, it makes me think of Maria, because she often goes back and adds little bits here and there. Excuse me, I'll get some water. Sorry, my throat was getting dry. Excuse me. And now I'm going to put just some dots in these other areas that we don't have any color in. And in the Tangle Patterns site, the examples given by Damy are really pretty. She did stippling on hers in this area and made it really pretty. Okay, I'm going to come up here and do the same thing and make my dots just a little bit bigger. And of course, you could put any pattern you want inside of here. And on this top one, I'm just going to first redefine that line a little bit and put an even bigger dot. Okay, so if your watercolor has dulled your line a little bit, you can redefine it. These little things just add a little bit of drama to your tile. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is on each of these outer areas, I'm going to add an orb. And then I'm going to fill it in and add a little bit of rounding wherever I put that orb. That just kind of sets it and attaches it to the rest of the pattern. And I'm making these pretty good size. And if you've watched my other videos, I don't speed it up. I don't do an automatic fast display of my art because I would rather give you the option through the YouTube settings to speed it up or slow it down. But I always show it at the speed that I actually did it. Because that's how I like it when I watch someone else's video. And if they've done it at high speed, even when I try to slow it down to watch it, it's not the same. So I leave mine just like this. All right, last one. And the rest of this will be the shading. And again, I didn't mention in the beginning, but if you have a jelly roll, that would be good. And what I want to do is down here on these, in the center of the flower, I'm going to make that white. And on each of these Mooka, I'm just going to add like a little highlight. Try to make sure my pen is working. Okay, so just like a little C on each one of these. You can see that. Okay. If they were a little bit bigger, you'd be able to see it better, but just a little bit of a C there. Gives it a tiny bit of a highlight. If we had this a little bit darker color, it would show it better. I did my first one on a gray tile, and so this showed up better. Okay. I'm going to get my graphite pencil, and I'm just going to add a little bit of shading around each of these petals where they meet. And a little bit down in here. Okay. And I'm trying to get all the way up and down as I turn. Just a little bit on each side where all these would meet down here. That's all we need. And looks like I got all of it. Now I'm going to get my blending stump and just soften that in each area where I've added that shading. And this is the first one I've done with this pattern with the watercolor, so you're learning with me on this one. I just wanted to try it, see how it would come out. Back up just a little bit. Okay. All right, and we can try with that Jelly Roll pen to add a little bit of white in these little orbs. Again, with a darker color, it would show up better. I do have excuse me, paper that is a craft brown that really does well when you're trying to highlight with a jelly roll pen. Okay, it doesn't show up much on the camera, but it is there. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a little C on just one side, just the top side of each of these orbs. And when we blend it, it will definitely give it more of a rounded look, like a pearl or a gemstone. And this is just a super easy way to get kind of a little rounded or gemstone look. Okay, so now with my blending stuff, I'm just going to bring this down a little bit. I'm not going to fully go into that white, okay? So just soften it and bring it down a little bit. Don't totally fill it in, okay? This is one way of doing water droplet type look on your patterns also. Just going back and forth in a C shape with my blending stump. Okay, and this is where you can also come back with your jelly roll and put just a little curve of white up here. And that gives you even more of almost like a gemstone pearlish look. Okay. And I will take a picture of this to put with the video that hopefully will look a little bit better so you can see the color. Soften this just a little bit more. All right, let me back this up just a little bit more. And I will show you the first one that I did. And this is on a gray tile that I cut myself. And as you can see, with that gray tile, the white shows up a lot better, like on these little pearls and things like that. And the way I colored it was with pastel chalk pencils, the general pencils that came with some of our project packs from Zentangle. had these colors in them, and that's what I use. This is just the white chalk pencil. This is a pastel blue, and this is a yellow. And then I added the Jelly Roll pen, the white Jelly Roll in certain places, and that's how that one turned out. So there we go. Back that out just a little bit. And there's a couple of ideas for ways that you can do this. And I hope you enjoyed this. If so, please give it a thumbs up, and would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, and would be most grateful if you really enjoyed it that you buy me a cup of coffee. Look in the description for the link to the ko-fi.com for Not Perfect Zen. I always appreciate that. I hope that you're having a good weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye.